About stuff that doesn't matter.
Okay, what type of projects have you done in my classes that you would say gave you different skills?
Recently, I've made a couple movies. We're working on a website right now. We're doing interviews with outside people from the school. Of those videos, I've published them to YouTube and Vimeo. What else have we done? We've done blues songs. Not your standard poster and writing a quick essay kind of thing. Something with a little more substance.
What's your opinion on doing projects like that as opposed to creating a poster for a project?
Well, I could say that making a poster is quick and easy and simple, but just like writing words 1,000 times on the board doesn't really help you learn what you're actually trying to learn about. When you make a movie, when you make a multimedia project, when you make a website, you kind of invest in what you're learning in, and you kind of have to keep it. I mean, I can tell you that from last year when I did a video in your class, it's still on YouTube, and I still remember a fair amount of what I did in that project. Not to mention the other projects like the political ad and this interview that I'm working on really hard right now. I'm getting out and kind of networking with people I don't really know, so kind of branching out. What was the other part?
What skills do you think you've learned that you didn't know before taking on some of these projects?
I've really worked a lot on making documentary type films in the class. I've made several ones in not only this class, but I've branched out and made a couple for other classes such as zoology, films, and I made a couple films for my government class. So movies are the biggest thing I've been working on. I'm also working on websites and learning how to use free websites and making them look good and making them have substance. Stuff that normally you don't do in a history class.
Did you find these projects were more engaging for the audience than your poster as far as presenting? Was it easier to present the material, or would you say it was harder to present the material?
Making a movie is a win-win, in my opinion. You are engaged a lot more. You invest a lot more of your time, and you get a lot more out of the movie. It's far easier and less stressful to present than a boring PowerPoint, not only because your classmates are engaged, but because you don't have to worry about your presentation skills, although I do think that's important. It's part of it. You kind of invest in making your voiceover and choosing the pictures and whatnot carefully. But students generally enjoy interesting and cool presentations, much more so than posters or PowerPoints.
Do you use technology in all your classes, or do you think there's not enough technology used in your classes?
I try to use as much technology in my classes as I can. I'd say like in classes like English, it's been difficult to use movies and websites and multimedia tools in the classroom, but I've used them in social history, rock and roll, last year's history class, this year's history class, economics, zoology, and one of my other science classes I've been working on. So I've been branching out and using as many classes as I can, but I think other classes can still make improvements to making projects that kids can use technology with.
What would you suggest for teachers if you were the one who had to make a project, you were designing a project, what would be the requirements that you would have students do in making a project?
Well, if I was making a project for my kids, I would say the most important thing is that the kids have to be invested in what they're doing. If you're going to make a project that is low standards, PowerPoint, poster, boring, just an essay, not only are you not going to enjoy grading it, but the kids aren't going to enjoy doing it, and no one's going to enjoy watching it or seeing the presentation. What's important is to make it interesting, engaging, and fun. Otherwise, the kids won't learn and won't be engaged.
Now, does it take a huge amount of time to create projects that are not posters? Is it reasonable for teachers to be able to expect students to create a documentary or to do an interview and make a website? Is that something that teachers could easily incorporate into their projects, or do you think that is a huge burden on students?
I think that yes, that making a movie or documentary, a website, does take a little more time than a poster or an essay or a PowerPoint. But you get what you put in, and you end up with a far better presentation and a far better tool to convey what you're trying to say. I'd say that, after school in the real world, people will be far more impressed if you can make a short film, a 5-minute film, versus a 10-minute PowerPoint. These skills are skills that are not useless. They're useful for later in life, especially the way things are going technologically. PowerPoints and poster boards are going to be a thing of the past. And to take advantage of these tools we have here now is a very important thing.
Perfect.